Another day. Another day alive. What are you going to do with it? Was it Friday today, I think? Weekend coming up. Usually, on average, the weekend's a couple days for people to do what they love to do or have a time away from work. I hope everybody's going to do something they love to do. Do something you love to do this weekend if you can, all right? And if you can, take a kid with you and crack that door open for them with something new that they might be good at it. Good at. Crack the doors open. Do something you love to do if you can. Pray for the people in Florida as well if you can. Try to help somebody if you can. Man, what's going on with that state? In North Carolina? All the people that are being harmed by those hurricanes down there is crazy, isn't it? I keep getting a lot of emails of people saying, hey, it's the weather manipulation. It's proven fact. Weather's been being manipulated and used as a weapon. Do I think that's fact? Pfft, wouldn't surprise me the slightest. It wouldn't surprise me the slightest. Especially after what they did with the forced needles, right? You don't need much more proof than that. Was that Moderna finally admitted that their injections are causing cancer? No shit. Families got torn apart because of family members disagreeing about what's going on there. Anyway, I'll stop the ramble, babble. We spent the whole day picking sticks and rocks out of our newly cleared land yesterday. Everybody's got a sore back this morning, but it's good for you. Now, what am I doing? Quick note, when I had my phone ran over yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Or the day before. Yesterday? Whatever. So much going on. A friend of mine, Mike Lena, originally from here. I believe he's hunting in central south-ish British Columbia. And he sent me a photo of an upside-down fir tree stabbed in the ground with the roots in the air. It looked like it was probably a 20-footer. And, excuse me, I think I shared that here. My photos didn't all come through on my new phone. Whatever. So I lost it. And then he just texted me a few days ago. And all I got was another photo of another one with dirt, fresh dirt on the roots that he found. All he said was, now I found one. And here's a tree. It looked to be about 20 feet. Probably girth, I don't know. Like that. Big solid chunk of wood. Stabbed straight up and down out of the ground. A little bit of an angle. Isn't it a weird one? When you like to, well, I don't know. If you saw it being done, then you'd have to see who was doing it too at the same time. And that seems to cause a lot of PTSD for a lot of people. Would I like to see that? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. I've seen enough. I just want to know. I want to know what's up. And another side note I was going to mention too. We learned something yesterday. Listen to this one. And it's funny because we just brought up the movie Poltergeist the other day, talking about what happens, why it is so popular to have native burial grounds having homes built on them and odd things happening. And then I remember my reply to that was, yeah, like that was the theme in the Poltergeist movie 2 years ago, right? Anyway, get this. So I don't know how many people have been here the whole time following this channel, but we've had some weird things happen in the house. Colored lights. I call them colored lights. Other people call them orbs. Whatever. I don't know who coined the first person was that coined the term orb. Because if I was to look in the forest right now and see a bright light, I'm going to go, hey, there's a bright light. No, it's an orb. Well, it looks like a bright light to me. If it's a blue one, I'm going to go, there's a bright blue light in the timber. You know what I mean? Minor. Anyway, so the kids have seen lights in the basement of our house numerous times. Sarah has seen lights in the house and up in the ceiling numerous times, various colors. Have I? No. Moving along, get this one. So our dear kind, one of our neighbors, very successful man. I think he's probably a true genius, for real. He's 75, he can't sit still. And he came over. All I was doing, he came over there today to see what we were doing. And I was asking him, I said, what are the stages in clearing land? I've never done it before. So he had our buddy come over with a backhoe and clear all the nasty shit off the ground and make a pile. And he goes, oh, well, now you gotta pick all the major sticks. I'll come over and rake it. I'm like, oh, well, you don't have to. Gone. He's just gone. Boom. Gone. Comes back with his tractor and rake. And he raked our property until it got dark out. Then he comes back in the morning with discs and disked it. Then he comes back yesterday with another little buggy with a thing in the back to help pick up sticks. What a frickin' kind soul. And anyway, he said that years ago, all of this land was was owned by some dude, the last name Hector. He also said that Hector had native people on his land. I think he said they were working for him. But I don't know what happened. But also, this is a long time ago. Way, way back. And apparently, he had human skulls on the property on his fence posts. Right away, Sarah and I looked at each other. That might be explaining a lot of what the weird shit going on around here. Right? How creepy is that? We're going to see if we can have him over for turkey dinner. Maybe possibly him and his wife, she's not having a good time right now, but he's coming back again today to disc the property again. So maybe I'll bring it up again. And I'll really listen intently and get some more details off of this Hector guy and what he actually did, who he was, and then what went down on this property and all the surrounding properties. I guess he owned it all. Creepy, right? Creepy. I've had our First Nations superhero ladies come over, and they're intuitives, and they could feel a presence here right off the bat, and actually see a presence on the property when they first come over. Interesting and creepy. There you go. There's my morning ramble bamble. Now let's get right into it. We got people emailing in like crazy. Honest people. Sharing their experiences with all of you. And I stress again, as usual, take from it what you will or leave it. You know, it's funny. I'll get one more quick little mention has to be made. Sometimes we get emails from people who have looked into different things and come up with different answers and then shared an email and I read it. And then people actually, I'd imagine they go off in the comment section. And actually email me, raging, in caps lock, insulting the person who sent in that ridiculous email. And like I said before, I'm more amazed at watching how humans go through this lifetime at times than I am at just the fact that there's these large, hair-covered, giant, human-like people running around the forest. I mean, how many times have you guys seen me get physically angry and blow a gasket after reading an email on here? How many times? Probably never, right? So how come I'm not raging when I read somebody's email? Why not? And my question is, why are you, to you handful of people that rage, freak out, insult, and lash and blow a gasket, how come you're doing that and I'm not? Ask yourself that question. What's the difference? Just think about it. You get triggered from an email to email me in caps lock blowing a gasket. Now, I don't give a shit about the topic, but I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to say this to you. Take a look at yourself and see how you're cruising through this lifetime. Are you that weak? Quit being a pussy. A pussy to me, since I've been growing up, a pussy to me is a man or woman who can't control themselves. You're a pussy. You're emotionally weak. Quit it. Grow up. Smarten up. The theme, take from it what you will or leave it. It's too easy. I'm a prime example of it. Okay? There you go. My rant said, but quit being a pussy. I'm still going to get that in a t-shirt because it applies to many different scenarios in life. Quit being a pussy. Oh, shut up. Take from it what you will or leave it. Too easy. Carrying on. There you go. Most terrifying night of my life is the title of this email. Hi, Steve. My best friend and I have been camping on Lake Byron in the Hoist Lakes foot travel area in the Huron National Forest for 25 years. When our children were old enough to, We took them every year with us. I had my son and daughter, and my buddy had his 3 girls. We go up there every Memorial Day weekend, weather permitting. This Memorial Day evening 2016 was the most terrifying night of our lives up there. The day started out like any other day. Kids swimming, and we went fishing at night, slaying the 15-inch bass that is stocked in the lake, lol. Later on in the evening, the kids laid down, and my buddy and I stayed up and we sat at the fire bullshitting and having a few drinks of Jägermeister. We were getting low on firewood, so we decided to walk down the trail and get some. As we were walking, the tree frogs and sounds of the forest were loud as can be. Then all of a sudden, as we kept walking, everything stopped. There was no sound at all, just silence. It was like we walked into a soundproof room out of nowhere. We found this very odd since we have never experienced anything like it before. But with our liquid courage, we carried on, and about another 20 yards, it's like we stepped out of the silence, and the forest returned to normal. We started gathering firewood, and I had the bright idea of messing around and did some tree knocking, not thinking anything of it. I knocked a few times and didn't hear anything in return, so we started walking back and entered the zone of silence. This time, for some reason, we were very uneasy about the silence. It was like something was watching us and just made us very uneasy. So we ran through it, back to the campsite, lol. About an hour went by, and my buddy and I are sitting there bullshitting, when out of nowhere, something humongous charged us while we're sitting at the fire. This thing crashed through the trees and brush like an elephant. We jumped up and was extremely startled at what just happened, and then it false charged us again, which caused us to start running. Only a few steps. When we saw our kids, I stopped and turned around. I grabbed a 5-foot branch I broke earlier and had a sharp point on it. I don't know what I would have done other than I might get a stab in before I die. And at that moment, my life changed forever. I was ready to die for my kids, and I for sure thought we were. This thing started stomping, and you could feel the ground shake. Also, it was making this deep guttural sound which I can't explain. It paced back and forth just out of our sight for 40 minutes or so, continuing to stomp and make sounds I've never heard. I thought for sure we were going to die. Steve, I know no forest animal is going to run up on you at your huge fire that you're having, so what the F was it? I'm pretty sure it was a sabe. After 40 minutes, the thing disappeared, like it just stopped, and we didn't hear it walk away or anything. The fear we felt that entire time was like nothing I felt before in my life. And I learned something about myself that evening, that when shit hits the fan, I'll stand my ground no matter what the consequences. Good for you. That's good to know. That's good for your friends to know. Well, that's all we didn't... Well, that's all. We didn't see it, but we know it. We continue to camp up there at the same campsite to this day. Oh, good for you. Right on. Our kids are grown now, so they come sometimes, not all the time. And we haven't had any other encounters except black bears. I hope you're well and have an awesome day. Been listening to you religiously since the beginning. My name is Richard Swain, and I don't give an F what others think. Take care, Steve. Richard, welcome to the club, man. You're a brave, honest man. Good for you, and you're good backup. Love hearing that. Pretty terrifying. Being certain you're going to die sucks. That's a feeling I've had a few times. It sucks. It sucks. But you live through it, right? And that changes who you are in a way, for the better, usually. I've had some examples of shitty backup. It sucks when everybody reacts differently, right? When the shit hits the fan. Everybody reacts differently. God, my tooth is chipped right off of the bottom. I gotta go get it fixed. It's making me go, sp, 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 sp. I can feel it when I'm speaking more. No, I'm not going to show it to you. So anyway, I've had some bad backup. Childhood best friend. We had a grizzly bear straight at us. I didn't have a gun. He did. And he literally threw the gun in the air and ran, screaming. I'll never forget that. I picked up the gun, shot the bear, and it's just like right out of a movie. That sucker was about, 10 feet from me. And the last bullet, you could see I could actually see the smoke wisping up out of his fur. And then my knees turned to mush. And then the after fright turns you to rage in a way. I almost wanted to shoot my buddy for running, right? But that was back in the early days of not understanding people and how they react. You feel a little let down in a way when that happens. What else? I had another guy, Hunter. I can understand it. I almost died from another grizzly bear. And then Sal and three-year-old cubs stood up right in front of us, and she started freaking out. He ran. I can't believe she never went after him. That's fine, though. I don't need people like that around me when the shit flies, especially if they have a gun in their hands, because they will shoot you by accident. And that's happened a lot of times. And then another time, I had another buddy. Lessons learned years ago in the springtime. I wanted to go up in the Alpine, coastal British Columbia, and I wanted to make some salt licks, put trail cameras out. He wanted to go with me. I'm like, okay. And he pulled the drive and he goes, I go, hold on, I'm going to go grab a gun. He's like, what do you want? What do you need a gun for? Nothing's open. Like almost like challenging me. Like, what do you need a gun for? Nothing's open. I'm like, okay. Stupid ass me, didn't bring a gun. We're in this burn. We're in a burn, and we both stepped up on this rock, steep in the burn and early spring vegetation, or later. It was pretty green, probably around June. And here comes a sow and a cub grizzly bear straight up the rock. She looks at us, and here she comes, straight at us. What does he do? He does the breaststroke with one arm hitting me on my shoulder and back, trying to breaststroke me behind him as he turns to run. That's a penalty, right? Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about bad backup. I hate bad backup. I got some good backup in my life, but sometimes you got to go through it. You don't know how you're going to react. Sorry about that little rant. Who's next? What's next? I can hear a tractor outside. It's my neighbor. He's here, disking my property again. This is titled, What I've Learned So Far. Hi, Steve. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for all the time and effort you put into this project and for sharing your journey with us. Your videos and stories of the real world are great. Appreciate your kind words. I've come to believe that the road to truth and understanding in this life is a path that must be traveled alone. Yeah, I think so too, in a way. You can share it, but you're on your own. We cross the path of many others and are free to take or leave anything they may have left for us. But ultimately, it is for us to decide what to do with what we see and learn along the way. I'd love to say with 100% certainty that, quote, this is the way it is, end quote, but I just don't think this world works like that. So, here's what works for me. And as always, everyone is free to take what they like and free to leave what they don't. Right? It's pretty easy. Number 1. 2 or 3 home security cameras with some kind of night vision and an active IR light seem to have eliminated essentially all physical activity around the house. Thank you, Scott Carpenter. Number 2. Lacking a better term for the non-physical / spiritual and dream state encounters, including, quote, sleep paralysis, end quote, calling on divine protection has been effective for me in many circumstances. Thank you to all who have shared this before me. Note, to be clear, I've never had a physical experience while awake or asleep with a forest person that gave me the urge to seek divine protection. The one and only encounter while awake was unsettling, but not terrifying. Nothing that has not been shared before by many others. Number 3. Uncertain if due to the strength of the entity or my lack of conviction, there have been many times when invoking divine protection from God / Jesus did not stop the encounter. However, almost as if they spoke through me in the moment, showing me the way, showing me the way, demanding to know the entity's intentions, stopped it dead in its tracks on more than one occasion. Thank you, God, for watching over me. The few times in the last few months I've had a frightening encounter since that new tactic was learned, reminding the entity that has no power over me, I did not give it, that it will not get fear or anger from me, and praying for it to find its way back to a path lit by love has left it in a state that seems angry and frustrated, but mostly defeated each time as it slinks off. Something to think about. I think that works with humans too, right? As with the sleazy humans that use deception, calling out the BS seems to stop them cold as they move off in search of easier prey. I want to be clear that I have absolutely no clue who or what visits me with such bad intent, and I do not think that anyone or thing other than those individuals should be held responsible. I believe that each individual should be judged on their actions towards others. Bad intent cannot be hidden. I believe it is essential to meet these types of challenges specifically, and life's challenges in general, in a straightforward way with courage and love in our hearts. It is my firmly held belief that fear and anger are the tools of choice for those seeking to rob and drain us of our life energy. I believe this holds true for both the material and spiritual world we inhabit. Evil takes many forms. Always confront evil directly without fear or anger. Without anger is a tall order I fail at regularly, sometimes physically and sometimes spiritually. I did not invent or come up with any of this myself, only lucky enough to be shown it. Thank you for taking the time to share this. I hope it helps someone out there in this wild ride. To everyone, please don't forget to take a moment to just enjoy life right where you are. Respectfully, Josh. Josh, great message, man. Appreciate that. I love good messages. Words of encouragement. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Now, oh, stupid computer. Yep, still working. Breaking. Bigfoot caught on camera in Oklahoma. Experts stunned. Experts. Experts. Below is a link to a video you may find interesting. This is just a story from a political news channel. I normally watch reporting, a clear picture of an Oklahoma Sasquatch. Since you have to go to YouTube to get real news nowadays, there's a few pics on the video of an Oklahoma sighting that may interest your viewers. It appears authentic to my untrained eye. Well, I've never seen a hairy fellow in the woods in my 40-plus years of hunting Central/East Texas. I have heard things a few times that have made me wonder. I did also have a 180-pound hog I'd shot and laid out about 100 yards from my stand as coyote bait one night. Completely disappear. It was a full moon night, a solid black, large hog laid out on a freshly cleared gas line right away. This part of Texas is also known as, the Sand Flats, because of its very light color and very fine sand. The area where I had laid the hog was freshly plowed, almost white sand, a jet black pig, and on a full moon night. I sat on the porch of my treehouse. Yes, I have a treehouse. Texas lazy man hunting at his best. Basically, my stand is a 7x10 storage building built 12 feet up in a giant oak tree with a 6-foot wraparound porch, complete with a recliner. I'm roughing it for sure. Sounds pretty tough. Excuse me. After dark, I'd set my alarm to go off on vibrate every 30 minutes. And when my phone vibrated, I'd look out at the hog and see if there was anything eating it or messing with it. I repeated this until about 4 a.m. At the 4:30 timer, I looked out and there was no hog. After daylight, I went to investigate. There was no hog, and also could not make out any drag marks, tracks, or footprints. A few weeks later, I had something come in from behind my treehouse. I heard it in the brush. I thought perhaps a hog was going to walk directly out from under my porch. I readied my 10mm pistol for what I thought was going to be a straight down 12-foot shot on whatever was about to come out. And as soon as I shifted my weight to get the gun from its holster, the walking movement paused. 8 to 10 seconds later, I heard something very large tear ass back through the brush in the direction from which it had come. I heard it hit the barbed wire fence, which is 30 yards behind my stand, breaking the top strand, and then I heard it continue to pound the ground, running perhaps 100 or so more yards back towards our main gate, and then let out a scream that almost made me crab. The scream was somewhere between a yell and a bull, bellowing but loud. I mean train horn loud. I sat there and convinced myself that it was a wild longhorn or maybe an escaped elk from a game ranch or something that happened to wind/smell me at the same time I heard it. I told myself my nerves were making me exaggerate what had just happened. I had a friend hunting another spot about a half a mile from me, and when he got out of his blind and in the truck, the first thing he said was, "Did you hear that effing noise?" At that point, I realized my brain had not just blown everything out of proportion. I then told him about the disappearing pig from a few weeks prior. I didn't tell anyone before because, well, it sounded like a bullshit story, and they'd think I was full of crap or crazy. Being a Texan, I may be a little of both sometimes, but this is no joke, and I figured they'd think I was yanking their chain. I came home and I began researching black bear sightings in East Texas, and there are a few counties that have a few. In the county I'm hunting in, I discovered there's more Bigfoot sightings than black bear sightings. Yep, the odds are it was not a black bear. That's how I found your channel. If you ever get too old to climb up and down those hills or just want a lazy man hunting lesson, reach out. I'm more than happy to lend you my recliner if you're down this far south. My feeders are always full and the pigs are almost always at my feeder. After dark, I just turn on the big red light and stay till they show up. Blessings, Jason H. There's a holy shit one, Jason. And appreciate that kind offer, and you never know, I might show up. And I have direct experience with the disappearing animal. Sure bunch you heard this one. I'm going to share it quick for Jason. A friend of mine had a 250, 300 pound dead ewe, lamb, or sheep, with the wool coats, bloated up, nasty ass stinking, and asked me if I wanted to do something with it. So we took it up to the spot near Mount Curry and dumped it on the ground. I had no idea it was going to disappear. I thought, maybe we'll get a grizzly bear on it or something. Didn't have a camera on it yet. Dumped it out of the truck, and I specifically put it out in the open on a deactivated road where nobody really goes around, on the ground, and probably 150 or something, 200 yards from the timber edge. Any grizzly bear that comes across a kill drags it into the cover. A pack of wolves shreds everything on sight. A pack of dogs shreds everything on sight. A black bear will attempt to kind of bury it a little bit and feed on it right there. Eagles and ravens will annihilate it right there. Either way, there's going to be shrapnel, right? Went back less than a week later. It was absolutely gone. Not a track in the soft ground anywhere. I thoroughly looked everywhere. I did bigger circles in the timber. Nothing, not a sign of it, but one patch of hide, about that big, peeled off, perfectly blue skin, no meat on that hide, but no knife cutting. It's like it ripped it off, went perfect. Picked it up. However they picked it up, I don't know. Whatever picked it up, I don't know. It's gone. Another quick note. Guys in Squamish on a job site my friend was running. They went up to the confluence near where I had found that tooth on the stump with Sarah, right near where that being was screenshot in my video behind me against a tree. And they had thrown a dead steer, on the snow at a confluence where it's wide open forever on the open riverbank. Snow on the ground, 3 trail cameras, disappeared, no tracks, and nothing on the trail cameras. Happened. Also, probably within 2 miles of there is where I dropped that 700, 800 pound hog over the bank. Gandhi disappeared. Boom. There you go. That's all I can add for that. It happens. How does it happen? Don't know. Who's doing it? Got an idea, but not confirmation. Who's next? Frozen from fear may not be from fear. Steve, my name is Ron. I'm a free man. Welcome to the club, Ron. I appreciate all you've done and would like to add to the think tank. There's a normal process which happens to all of us as we sleep, which may be the mechanism for the reports of being, quote, frozen in fear. This mechanism prevents our muscles from moving when we are dreaming of running. There are times while dreaming when I've woken myself, but my arm moving while dreaming of playing baseball. But that's the exception. Scientists know about this disconnect from dream studies and why in the dream state we are moving, but our body is disconnected and does not move. I suggest the Sabe can, through telepathic means, stimulate our own mechanism for non-movement during dreams. Thus, the observer feels they have been frozen and assume it's from fear. If this is really what is happening, I have a counter for it. I'm a lucid dreamer and have been most of my life. It started when I was 8 years old, when one night I had a nightmare. I was being chased by a bear, and the bear was closing ground. As the dream was playing out, I asked myself, could this be real? Of course not. I'm dreaming. Knowing it was imaginary, I turned around and chased the bear. I'm 74 now, and I've been troubled with nightmares since. Really. Sleep paralysis was a different story. Being in my room, knowing I am sleeping yet can't move, proved to be harder to solve, but eventually I did. Instead of moving my whole body, I would concentrate real hard on moving my little finger. In a short time, I moved the finger, then I tried to move my hand. Once moving, I tried to move my arm. By the time I could move my arm, I was shaking my body enough to break the paralysis, and this woke me up. I have a hypothesis that during an encounter with a Sabe, and the Sabe has activated the detachment mechanism within us. We can break free by starting with our little finger to get it moving, then get one's hand moving, and so on until one is free from the freeze. My hope is someone will hear this and can expand on this hypothesis. I haven't yet experienced a Sabe, so I doubt I'll be able to try this out myself. I often think the Sabe avoid me because of my years of lucid dreaming. I'm the master of my dream world, and that takes their advantage away. Or not, who knows? Thanks for all you do. Ron Metcalf, Mount Vernon, Washington. Ron, very, very, very interesting, and I appreciate that, man. The dream world's a weird one for me, as I don't spend too much time on it, but the times that I do, a little while ago I did, and I was thinking to myself, I had two bad people in my dream, men. One was a white guy and a black guy, dressed nicely, and I knew they were absolutely evil, and I can see their facial features right now. And I've never seen these people's faces ever before in my life. So, when you're dreaming, how do you come up with these faces, strange faces? How do you come up with strangers that you've never seen before in a dream? I don't get it. There's a lot I don't understand, obviously. But that's a kind of an alarming one for me when I started thinking about it. Right? I think about a lot of shit. Dreams are very odd. I've had dreams where I'm trying to run and I can't. My legs just aren't going fast enough, and it's really frustrating. I don't like those. And of course, the one where you're falling forever, and then you wake up on impact. Appreciate you, man. Here's another one. Obvious to me revised. These are all recent emails, by the way. Hi, Steve. I emailed you once before a few years ago. You read it on the podcast. I stated the reason the government won't acknowledge the Sabe is because the Sabe doesn't want them to. I still believe that. I also said that humans don't use most of their brain, and you disagreed. I did? Excuse me. I agree with you now. I was remembering what I learned in school about 50 years ago, and that we have all the combined knowledge of mankind in the palm of our hand. I've changed my opinion. Google says that most scientists believe we use all or most of our brain. We can ask our phones anything and get answered. I asked Google how many planets there are in the universe because I believe most of the strange sightings reported are of extraterrestrial origin. Google gave a number that approaches infinity. One description stated there's 1 billion planets for every grain of sand on Earth. And that's conservative estimate of just what's in the observable universe. Who knows what else is out there beyond that? Man has not even traveled to our nearest planet yet. Until humans can travel at least the speed of light, we will not know what's out there. You can call it the Star Trek theory, as some of your emailers have opinioned. Advanced extraterrestrials cannot interfere with our natural evolution. It would take us 4.5 years at the speed of light to reach the next closest star, Andromeda. With our current technology, our fastest speed is 17,500 miles per hour, the speed of the space shuttle. It would take us 145,000 years to reach Andromeda at that speed. These creatures visiting us have to be far more advanced than us. They can do things we can't understand or even conceive. As your testimonies show, they can look like anything or do anything, or possibly just make us think that. As a kid growing up, I marveled at how doors open by themselves on Star Trek. Now, convenience stores have that. When Star Trek The Next Generation came out, I marveled at how they communicated without a handheld device. Now that's common too. Gene Roddenberry, an ex-Los Angeles police officer, was a visionary. I believe the non-interference clause in Star Trek's Prime Directive is also true. Giving advanced technology to a violent, primitive culture is comparable to us giving AR-15s to monkeys. I think we've already done that, haven't we? It would not end well. Steve, I'm a numbers guy. Knowing how vast the universe is and how many planets there has to be in it, I think it's a given there is advanced life forms out there. For the same reason, with the sheer number of reports of UFOs, Sabe, and other strange phenomena. They have to exist, even though I have not seen them myself. And I live in the country next to a 165,000 acre nature preserve. I cannot see another house from mine. It's just common sense. Add in the enormous amount of physical evidence here on Earth, it's a logical conclusion that answers all the unanswered questions. Keep up the good work, Steve. Jim in Florida. P.S. I think dogs are afraid for the same reason humans are. Yeah, Florida. Hope you're safe down there, man. I hope you're safe. And I hope you're helping those that aren't. And I appreciate your email and your knowledge. Yeah, the space thing freaks me out. That's one thing that can cause this a little bit of anxiety for me at times when I'm in the middle of nowhere and I'll just gaze up in the sky and then I'll picture where we must be physically. And it kind of freaks me out. I'm like, whoa, where the hell are we? Right? And then you picture being above the planet, picture being up there, and they look down at the planet, and then you look at all the frickin' insanity and the chaos that's going on here. And then that really freaks me out. A lot. Bizarre. This lifetime is frickin' bizarre. Just when you start thinking about those two things right there, that could be enough to send you into the loony bin. Right? Looking up and thinking, where are we right now? That can get overwhelming for me once I'm laying there for a while staring up. And then you look back and all the absolute insanity going on here. It makes me wonder, how the hell were we created with such a flare of insanity? I don't get it. Why? Shit. All the beautiful things in this place we live, all the frickin' awesome things to do, you know, in the real world. And then somebody had to throw in this dog shit in the mix. I don't get it. What for? It's brutal. I used to say that about grizzly bears. And then they built them absolutely ridiculously strong, crazy ass fast. Nothing can F with them. And then they had to throw in that attitude. Why did you have to add that in there? You know, it was just uncalled for. You didn't need to. Why did we have to have the dark thrown in with us? It's really frustrating, especially at this stage of the game, right? It's real frustrating. But there's a way to counter it. Don't be dark. Don't be dark. Now, all right. The boss just came in, a little slight interruption there. I gotta get moving. So, I got one more here I'm gonna squeak out. You like that? One more cast. One more email. Greetings from New Hampshire, USA. Hi, Steve. My name is Rich. I've been watching your channel for a little more than a year now. I, too, am an avid outdoorsman. I love to fish and hunt. It's my passion and fondest pursuit. I just watched your video and follow-up of Edgar, the nuclear physicist. Quite a story and experience. I can't imagine what he must be feeling. I hope he's doing okay. I also saw your follow-up video where you were seated in your pickup truck. Now I fancy myself a tough guy, but I was deeply moved by your words. I think it was the first time you opened up and I truly understood how brutal what you're doing can be. For what it's worth, I think what you're doing is very courageous, ballsy, in fact. Thanks for the kind words, man. You see, I've never seen a Sasquatch, but know the vastness of the forests and wild lands of the US, Canada, and Alaska. I'm fortunate enough to have seen some of it. God, there's so much. It's not a stretch for me to believe they exist. I've always thought they have. I learned a long time ago we're not getting the truth from our governments and leadership. And this is why. In 1997, while driving in central New Hampshire, I seen, up close and personal, a UFO. It lasted for quite a while, long enough for me to have stopped my pickup. I got out and looked at what was not supposed to have existed. It was a large green orb. It made no noise, could stop on a dime, and moved at unimaginable speed. I watched it come out of a clear, starlit sky from an incredible distance away, slow down and hover over the tree line not 300 yards away. And as I said, I had time to stop my vehicle, get out, and watch this amazing thing. Then, in a blink of an eye, take off with no sound and disappear in the darkness of a clear night. Immediately I knew we were not being told the truth, and the possibilities of what actually was the truth were likely mind-blowing. Without a doubt. Many years have passed since then. I'm 51 years old now, and I know what wisdom is. I know it's wise to listen to those who seek the truth. I know you're a truth seeker. It's my sincerest hope you don't let the negativity get you down. Keep on reading and listening. Keep on sharing and supporting. Most of all, keep on seeking the truth, as we may all one day have a better understanding. Hear, hear. And we are here. That's why we're here. We're still here. We're not going away. Richard, I appreciate that email, man, my man. And that's basically the same reaction I had after seeing one of these forest people. Right? It makes your brain go. The brakes get slammed on. You sit back, accept what's just being seen, and then your brain starts taking over. What's going on? What's going on? Here we are. And here I go. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Keep speaking, all right, you guys? Keep speaking openly, freely, and without fear. Please. All right? It's very, very important, especially today, these times. All right, here I go. I'm going outside. Time to get some shit done, and I'll be back tomorrow.